Hi guys, this is VF Miniatures Warhammer Tactics series, and today's topic of discussion will be the long-range anti-tank firepower for Necrons. So why do we need long-range anti-tank in our lists? Here are a few reasons why. First of all, it keeps pressure on your opponent because it's far too easy when the whole army of your enemy is right in front of you in the center of the board and all you need to do is select the most important target and destroy it. Also, in 9th edition 40k, there are a few moments when two armies are so far from each other and there is so much difficult terrain on the board that it may take 2 or 3 turns for them to reach each other. And when one army has anti-tank and the other doesn't, it means that the other army that doesn't have it will keep losing its resources throughout the game, while the other army is still relatively safe. It's especially important for close combat heavy lists like Novok, because when you have close to no firepower yourself, there's a big chance that you'll be shot to pieces before reaching the lines of your opponent. Also, we shouldn't forget that in most of the deployment maps, if not all of them, there is an objective marker close to your deployment zone that should be held by your units throughout the game, and a big scary tank is a nice pick for that. These long-range firepower units are often very tough and they give your opponent another choice for their target priority, which is always good because it makes them think and sometimes make the wrong choice, which is always beneficial for us. What's the situation with the points cost after the last Military Field Manual update of 2021? And here are a few things that have changed. First of all, the Doomsday Arcs are down by 10.5%, which is very substantial because 190 points was, in my opinion, a little bit more than they were worth. So now at 170, it's pretty much the right price for them, I think. Destroyers are down by 9% from 55 to 50 points, which is great because they were a little bit overcosted, but they are unfortunately out of this competition because they are not long-range anti-tank firepower, they are more like medium-range fire support, and the main criteria for long-range anti-tank firepower is to be able to reach the far corners of the map on the first turn, which is something that the destroyers would struggle to do with their 8-inch move and 24 inches of range. The Tombstalker, even though I think it's a great unit as a support element in your army, is also out of this video for the same reason. But what about the heavy destroyers, those new models that came out with the new Necron Codex and that look fantastic and menacing in my opinion? They are down by 10 points, which is a very nice discount for such a unit, and I think it makes them pretty interesting now. And we'll discuss why in the next sections. For some unknown reason, the Annihilation Barge, infamous Annihilation Barge, is still 120 points. I don't know what's the reasoning behind this price policy from Games Workshop, but perhaps they see some use for it that we don't. I honestly don't know why it costs so much, and I haven't seen an Annihilation Barge never on a table in 40k, and we'll probably won't see it anytime soon either. The same goes for the 8th edition favorite Doomscythe or the Flying Son of Death. It's still 200 points and it's still very bad. Through experience I found out that two main targets that an anti-tank platform should be able to deal with are a tough vehicle with a non-vulnerable save like a Leman Russ or Gladiator tank, and a very protected target like a Redemptor Dreadnought with an invulnerable save, like in our example here. And the heavy destroyers are the winners in both categories, which is something that I've expected, because they have damage 6 per shot basically, 3 to 3. And it's not something that a typical vehicle or even a heavily protected dreadnought can tolerate. And the only difference between the Doomsday Arc and Canoptek Doomstalker here are the 3+ ballistic skill on the Doomsday Arc, which gives it a slight edge over its Canoptek counterpart. But we should remember that there are other factors to this equation, not only killing your opponent's assets, but also staying alive yourself. And it's something that the Canoptek Doomstalker and Doomsday Arcs do much better than the heavy destroyers. You see that it will take an average 18 less cannons or 24 if you boost up the invulnerable save to kill the Doomsday Ark and 15 to kill the Doomstalker, but only 10 are required to kill 3 heavy destroyers. The Doomsday Ark is indubitably the toughest of the bunch with its permanent transhuman and 14 wounds. Another incredibly important factor in 9th edition is being able to move around the board, capture objectives and stay where your army needs you to be. And it's something that the Doomsday weapons struggle with because they need to be stationary in order to fire at maximum power, whereas the destroyers don't suffer the penalty to hit when they move and they can use their weapons at their full potential even while moving. They are still infantry somehow, and this means that they can benefit from light cover in the buildings, which is something that may help them a little bit with their survivability. And the best thing about the heavy destroyers is that they are reliable. Their firepower is reliable, unlike the Doomsday weapons, which are D6 shots, D6 damage, which is always very swingy. Plus, they don't have any rerolls unless you're playing a special dynasty that allows for a single reroll per shooting phase, like Zarakin. And the heavy destroyers, they have an inbuilt rerolls once to hit, and they also benefit from the Locust Lord aura of reroll once to wound. Honestly, in our time when you can find -1 damage in almost any competitive list out there, having a reliable 6 damage weapon, which is basically what 3d3 is very, very nice. Here are some other things that we should consider when trying to find the best anti-tank option for our list. The Doomsday Ark has a lot of anti-infantry firepower. It basically can fire 20 shots at strength 4 and -1 AP, which is not something that a typical, even a primary squad would want to face. For example, when they try to steal your home objective from you. Canoptic Doomstalkers, on the other hand, they don't have as much anti-infantry firepower, they only have a twin Gauss Flare, but they have a lot of interesting rules. For example, they can sort of greater good one another when they get charged, which is also a very interesting and useful thing when you place them somewhere in the backfield and a small light squad of your opponent comes to steal an objective from you from Deep Strike, and you can overwatch them basically for free with multiple units, which is awesome. Another unexpected but very welcome thing about Canoptic Doomstalker is that their ballistic skill doesn't degrade, so no matter how damaged it is, it will be firing until it's dead at its full potential. They all have living metal, of course, and the heavy destroyers also can reanimate, even though very unlikely. But if you take a squad of 3 and 2 are killed, it's not impossible that you'll reanimate one of them back. So here I've put down a couple of combinations that I think are pretty nice for basically any kind of Necron list, whether you're looking for a Novok close combat heavy list or a Mefrit Endless Wall of Necron warriors, it doesn't matter. You can just take this detachment and plug it in your army. They're all roughly 1/4 of the 2000 point army, so you have lots of space to put down all the ideas that you wanted to have in your list. The first one is a spearhead with 3 units of 2 destroyers and a Locust Lord. It was created to maximize the potential of the single reroll you can have with a Zarakan Dynasty, for example. When you fire 2 strength 10 shots, they'll probably both hit with on 3s with the reroll to hit, but one of them should probably fail to wound, and that's where the wound reroll comes in. And the Lord can provide a little bit of melee support. This detachment is probably the most powerful in terms of the firepower out of the 3, but is the easiest to kill. The other option is a spearhead of 3 Canoptic Doomstalkers and Technomancer with a Canoptic control node that gives them 3+ ballistic skill. I like this detachment the most in terms of aesthetics, but probably it's somewhere in the middle between the Doomsday Arks in terms of survivability and the sheer firepower of the first one. And probably 3 Doomsday Arcs are very much self-explanatory. You can include an optional Technomancer with the Canoptic Cloak for repairs. I don't think it's really necessary, it's just something that if you want you can do. But Technomancer with in this role is not very optimal because you are not using his Technomancer's special rule that allows you to revive your models. You're only using him as support for your vehicles or monsters, which is okay, but not perfect. So that's probably it, guys. I think that the heavy destroyers are definitely a very interesting option now, and the Doomsday Arc is back in business with its new updated price. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.